Do you wonder what men really think is wifey material? Because men say that they want a wife, but they seem to give their attention to the girls you thought weren't wifey material. And so you just end up confused on what it means or what you should even be doing to embody that. I'm here to tell you what men actually believe is wifey material and 10 ways you can prove that you are wifey material and have him desperate to make you his wife without you even having to open your mouth. Welcome to the Players Club. If you're here with me, you're participating and you're paying attention to me and everyone else in the live stream, please say here or present so that I know you're participating and you're paying attention. How are you all doing on this beautiful Wednesday? Okay, how you doing? I see SH is here. I think I seen Sharice earlier. We got Lenalik here, Carolina here, LB's here, Scotty's here. We got Enlightened A over in the YouTube chat. We got Missy America over in the YouTube chat. Jennifer's here, Melissa's here, Angela's here in the YouTube chat. Simwit Shan. Okay, guys, let's get started today. So we've got 10 different ways to prove you are wifey material. Interesting topic. Let's start with mindset. Now, as we talk about mindset, we need to make a clear distinction between the two categories that men will put women in, okay? Obviously, we have wifey material and we have non-wifey material. For the sake of differentiating the two and not confusing them, we'll call one wifey material, we'll call the other one the fun girl, okay? Some of you guys might have heard me talk about the fun girl before, so you're familiar with the term. For those of you who are new here, the fun girl is essentially the yes girl. The fun girl is so ready to say yes to any and everything because she wants to be validated by these men. I'm talking about men in general. And her desperation for this validation is motivating her to try and be as easygoing and peaceful as possible. And so she's down for anything. She'll say yes to anything. She's okay with anything. Why? Because she knows the more she says yes to everything, she feels like the more the men will like her, the more the men like her, the more validated she feels for the men liking her. Here's the problem though, is that like I mentioned before, it can be confusing because you're thinking to yourself, but I know that the fun girls get attention too. Yes, the fun girls do get attention, just like the wifeys get attention, but they get very different types of attention, okay? It's a very important distinction. The fun girls are getting attention because they are fun girls, right? And they're easygoing. It doesn't require a lot of work or effort to hang out and spend time with a fun girl. It's very easy. You don't have to do anything, and you don't have to worry about her not agreeing with anything you say. She'll be down for anything. Here's the problem though, because you're probably thinking to yourself, but I know for a fact that fun girls get wifed too. I know for a fact that the men wife up and get into relationships with the fun girls. Here's the thing. Immature men are also building relationships, okay? It's not just the mature men. So as men mature, they realize that being in a relationship with the fun girl is actually not so fun. Why? Because the fun girl doesn't know how to set boundaries. Why? Because she was so worried about saying yes to everyone and everything. She has never built the skill to be able to stand up for herself, not just with you, but in general with other men as well. And so what happens is, as these men mature who've wifed up the fun girl, they quickly realize that how she treats you and how she says yes to you and wasn't able to set boundaries with you because she was so worried about being accepted and liked is the same way she goes about all her other friendships, co-worker relationships, everything else in life. And so as a man, he realizes, oh my God, I'm with the girl who can't say no. I have to look out for my girl. I have to be the one to make sure she's not doing the wrong thing because she doesn't know how to set her own boundaries. She doesn't know how to tell people no. She specifically doesn't know how to tell guys no. And so they're constantly overstepping boundaries. And I now realize as a man, as her man, I feel uncomfortable because I'm with a fun girl who every time I look to the left, I look back, and my woman is doing something that I feel is inappropriate or makes me feel uncomfortable because she doesn't know how to tell men no or walk away from situations or turn men down. And so quickly, these men who marry or wife the fun girl realize that it's not so fun. It's actually a lot of work and it's a lot of stress. Okay. And it ends up being a mistake either way. And so this conversation is not about, oh, the fun girls don't get attention, the fun girls don't get looks, the fun girls don't get wifed. It's not about that. It's about understanding that at a certain point in all men's life, as they mature, they realize there's a particular type of woman they are looking for to marry and turn into a wife. And it's a lot easier to do that when you find a woman who is already existing in that place in her life. Okay. And it's a lot harder to find a fun girl and try and turn her into wifey material. It's just kind of like a rite of passage that all men have to go through as they learn in life, because the fun girls are fun. And when you're young and when you're immature, the fun girls feel like the most interesting girls you can meet because they're fun. And as you mature, you realize there's a lot of baggage and things that you don't want so much as a man in a relationship that also come with being with the fun girl. So I make that this distinction because when we're talking about mindset, it's very important that if you understand how you're going to show him and prove to him that you're wifey material, you understand what the opposite side is doing or not doing. Because for the most part, the girls who are wifey material, remember I said there's two categories, the girls who are wifey material will think, act, and approach life a particular way. And the girls who are not wifey material, the fun girls, are going to think, act, and approach life in the complete opposite way. They're like on polar opposites of each other. Okay, so it's very important to understand what the other side is doing so that you can understand what you should be embodying as well. It makes the picture much clearer. So as we talk about mindset, it's very important that you understand your mindset is going to communicate, because remember, all of these ways are without you having to open your mouth or convince him of anything. So your mindset is going to tell a man what you're really about. Okay. And when I say mindset, I'm talking about the way you approach life, how you go about life. If your mindset is that of a fun girl or an immature girl or a girl who's not ready to be in a relationship, that will be obvious to the man, whether he can subconsciously understand it and absorb it or not. Okay. So you have to actually do some digging within yourself and understand and realize, hey, is my mindset right now of a woman who is ready to be wifey material, or is my mindset and approach to life of that who is not ready to be a wife to someone? And what I mean by that is you have to kind of be honest with yourself. You have to be honest with yourself about where you're spending your time, what you're doing, what type of environments you're surrounding yourself with, and what that communicates to other people. Are you guys following along so far? Am I making sense to you guys? Your mindset is going to show him what you feel also about yourself, okay? And how you view yourself. Because if you are going to, let's just say for the sake of example, you're spending a lot of time in the club. You go to the club, you hang out, you're thinking, I'm just at the club because it's fun, I'm bored, I don't have much to do, I want to meet some new people, right? So you're thinking it's very innocent. You go to the club though, you see the other girls that are at the club, and what's your thought in your mind when I say, oh, you're probably just like the girls at the club? The first thing you want to say is, I'm nothing like those girls that hang out at the club. I'm so much different than them. I don't act like them, I don't talk like them, I don't dress like them, I'm nothing like them. But your mindset is a function of your approach to life and your actions, right? Because your actions convey to other people where your mind is at, how you feel about yourself, and where you're at, what you're ready for or not ready for. You understand what I'm saying? So if you're at the club, but you're thinking to yourself, hey, I'm ready to be a wife. Hey, I'm ready to take the next step with someone. Hey, I'm ready to build real serious relationships. Well, your mindset is not in line with who you think you are, and who you want to be. So the truth of the matter is your mindset is that of an immature girl or the fun girl. That's why I had to tell you guys and make it clear to you guys what the fun girl is and what the fun girl represents. Because if you're thinking to yourself, there can only be one of the two, then the answer is very clear to you. Okay, my mindset, is it that of a wifey material or is it that of a fun girl? And like I said, your mindset is a function of how you spend your time, what you spend your time doing, who you're hanging out with, what type of environments are you constantly around. That's all a function of your mindset. If I told you, let's say me and you went out on a date. Okay, this is where I want you guys to participate. Let's say me and you went out on a date together. We went to like a real nice place to eat. Let's say we went to Nobu. We're at Nobu. And I'm telling you, right, you're just asking me about my life. And I'm telling you, yeah, so I wake up at like probably like 3 p.m. And, I kind of just like, I eat some cereal and then I go downstairs and I play some video games till the afternoon and evening until I get kind of tired. Then I'll like order Uber Eats, and you're thinking to yourself, "Oh my God, we're at Nobu. Like, how did he get the money to take me to Nobu? What's his job? What does he do?" And then he's like, "And my parents they're super rich, so they just kind of like they give me an allowance, so I don't really have to work or do anything." And then usually at night, I like to go out to the club with my boys, and we'll go to like the bar, we'll hang out. Like just some fun stuff, really chill, laid back. When I come back, usually my laundry's done because my mom likes to do my laundry. I don't really do my laundry. And I got someone to we're rich. So there's like a maid that cleans up my room and cleans up everything. So everything's nice and neat. Yeah, I think like my life's just pretty easy, simple. I just chill a lot, don't really do much. What would your thought of where I'm at in my life be? What would you think of me? Would you think I was mature enough to be in a relationship with, or would you think I was too immature to be in a relationship with? When you think about a partner to you and someone that is ready to be a man and a boyfriend and a husband to you, if I were to tell you that that's where I'm at in my life, in my mindset, would you think I was mature enough to be in a relationship with you or too immature to be in a relationship with you? One of the two. I see Vicky says next. She says, I think you. Ivy says, excuse me when I leave. Shannon says, that has zero ambition, no substance, and nothing mental to offer. SH says, I would stand up and leave. At my age, at my age, not mature enough. Okay. As Jacqueline says, I wouldn't date someone like that. This is a hypothetical scenario that you just came on the date and you realized they were like that. Soraya, I like that name. Soraya says immature. Cherie says very immature. Noe says exit. Brianna says I would leave. Welcome, Brianna, by the way. Okay, Teddy says I will freeze. Kamara says I would think it's right about time for me to pack my bags and leave, right? And so here's the thing, right? The same way I just described that to you, right, is how mindset can show someone where you're at and what you're ready for. And the crazy part about that is even me, whether I tell it to you or whether I show it to you, you still get an understanding of, hey, that person's not ready to be in a relationship, or that person's not the person that I'm looking for. You understand what I'm saying? So even if I didn't say that on the date, because chances are, someone who's trying to hide their bad qualities isn't going to say that on the date. Even in the process of learning and growing with me and understanding me, you will eventually come to the realization that I am not ready mentally for a relationship, whether that be because I don't do things that are in line with someone ready to build a relationship. I'm still going out with my boys to the club or the bar. I'm still talking to all these different women and DMing a bunch of women and following a bunch of women and liking a bunch of pictures. All of this stuff will add up and show you, yeah, he's not ready to be in a relationship, right? And a lot of that will stem from the mindset, because if I'm of the mindset, I still want to go out, have fun till whenever I feel like having fun. I don't want to be responsible to anyone or anything. I want to do whatever I want, whenever I want, however I want, for however long I want, right? That is a mindset. It's like, cool. That's good. That's great. That's what you want for your life. But I don't think that you're ready for a relationship. So now we flip it vice versa. If you're thinking about the ways that you can prove that you are wifey material, the mindset has to be covered first. And for a lot of us, for some of us, are what we think we're representing, right? And the way that we carry ourselves and go about life, we are not actually representing, right? Because in that scenario that I just described to you, it's very easy to see that someone's mindset is not ready for a relationship. When I'm the one talking to you and you're absorbing me, or you're absorbing my actions, you're absorbing my words, it's a lot harder to decipher that when it's you with the actions and the words. Why? Because naturally, you as an individual want to justify your actions and words because it's you. And you are always going to give yourself the benefit of the doubt. So you have to make sure that your mindset is in line with how you're actually going about life. Because remember what I said, you might be able to talk a big game, but in the process of men learning you and understanding you, they're going to get a actual understanding of what your mindset is based on your actions. So don't be here thinking that you're going to talk a huge game and show him that you're wifey by talking a huge game. But then when you go out or you're living your life, it's not in line with what you said you were ready for. Okay. And I'm not saying that to diss you or make you feel bad about yourself. But if you're telling me that you want so badly to be a wife and to grow a real relationship with someone, and find someone, but then in the next sentence, you're telling me how you go to the club every single weekend. Do you see how what you think your mindset is, what you think you're ready for, is actually not what you're ready for? Because if you were truly ready for that, you would be showing that in your actions as well. Your mindset is not just what you say, it's not just what you think, it's actually a function of your actions and your approach to life. Okay, so be thinking about that when you're thinking about, am I representing myself as wifey material or not? Okay, very, very important. Because at the end of the day, regardless of what goes on or what men pay attention to or whether men chase around fun girls or this or that, you have to understand, as long as you stay the course, you stay strong in what you believe in. You stay strong in your stand. We'll talk about stands in a little bit. You stay strong in who you are and what you know you want to represent. You will attract the men who are ready for that, and you will repel the men who are not ready for that. I seen Jennifer say earlier, she said, you talk a good game, but so did my ex-husband, and he left me for some fun girl. Well, here's the thing. You have to understand, like I said earlier, is that the fun girls do get attention also. This is not about the fun girls never getting attention. They do get attention also. But you have to understand, you're not trying to attract every man. You're just trying to attract the man who's ready to be in a real relationship. And the more you embody the wifey material, the more you will repel the men who are looking for fun girls. Sometimes, for some of you who may be coming to this realization a little bit later, you might be realizing that you're in a relationship with a man who's actually looking for a fun girl. Because remember, I just told you guys, the immature men get into relationships too. The men who aren't ready for wifey material get into relationships as well. And so part of the deciphering process is you learning and understanding him better to realize, are you ready for a wifey, or are you actually looking for a fun girl? Okay. And in the process of you learning and understanding him, that will be made clear to you. This is why I always tell you guys, whenever a guy is coming to you and trying to convince you, oh, love at first sight, as soon as I met you, as soon as I saw you walking across that room, what he really means is, as soon as I saw your big booty walking across that room in your tight pants, I came to the realization that I was in love with you and I knew I wanted to make you my wife. This is why I say that's BS, because understanding and allowing a girl to show you that they're wifey material, and even vice versa, a man showing you that he's husband material, that takes a while. That is a process of learning someone and understanding them and seeing them in all of these different situations and circumstances, seeing them when they're mad, angry, upset, seeing how they resolve conflict, seeing how they are when they're good, when they're stressed out. All of this stuff, you have to learn to put a whole picture together of that single individual. You will never be able to do that as soon as you look at someone. Okay. So that's why I always tell you guys with all of this, because you guys be like, oh my gosh, so much to think about. Oh my gosh, there's so many, there's this thing, then we got that thing, then we got that thing. Relationships are so complicated. Well, yes. Okay. Anything good, right, worth getting is hard and takes work. But at the same time, oh, I just saw you and I knew. As soon as I met you, I just knew it was you, and I knew that everything that I needed to know about you to determine whether I wanted to spend the rest of my life with you. You can now be like, no, that's not actually how it works, right? We can build a great relationship and you can make the decision that I'm wifey material to you or like the person you want to be with, but that's not going to come in a couple of seconds after you see my big booty walking around the party. That's not how that works, right? And that mindset shift will help you in the rest of your life and relationships, okay? So number 1 was mindset. Number 2, we have confidence. Now, I want to discuss confidence with you guys in detail because I know confidence is something that we all struggle with a little bit. But I want you to understand, you're thinking to yourself, confidence, how does that really represent wifey material? Okay, we're going to get into some different topics here, and they're slightly related as it relates to this. Remember what I said about mindset and how mindset outwardly projects to the men how you feel about yourself. Confidence in yourself also actively projects out to the men how you feel and what you think about yourself. If you don't have confidence in the way you outwardly project yourself, right? You don't walk around with confidence. People can't feel the confidence on you. They can't sense it on you. You just look like someone who is super insecure and doesn't believe in themselves, doesn't see the value in themselves. You're subconsciously communicating to that man that you don't actually have value. Let me explain, okay? The only way when I'm receiving you, right? Someone said I'm glitching on YouTube. Oh, goodness me. But that's on TikTok. Am I glitching on YouTube, guys? Am I glitching on YouTube? Or is it fine? It says it's fine from my perspective. Let me see if I do this. Let's pause. Pause and then continue. Am I glitching, guys? It's fine? Okay. All right. So confidence, very important that when you are meeting these men, that they can smell and sense the confidence on you. What I mean by that is your confidence in yourself is going to communicate to men if you feel even that you are valuable. They're going to be determining if you have value, but it's definitely going to make them feel like you don't have value if you're not even confident in yourself. This is why I talk to you guys about filling your own holes, not in a dirty way, filling your own holes in your own voids, that you actually have confidence and you give yourself your own validation, because that is what a wife is. A wife understands, hey, I am about what I am about. I don't care what the other girls are doing. I don't even care the attention that the other girls are getting from you or men in general. I believe in what I believe in. I'm confident in myself and I'm confident in the value that I bring to the table. I'm not going to change who I am for anyone. That is also confidence. You understand that, right? That is also confidence, understanding that I bring value to the table. I don't need to adjust who I am, how I act, how I approach life to be more like other people. I can actually just be me. That is part of the confidence. And men are attracted to that confidence, whether you're a man or a woman. Okay, men are attracted to that confidence that you embody and walk around with yourself. Now, let me be very clear. Confidence doesn't mean you have to be obnoxious. Confidence doesn't mean you have to dress crazy or stand on a table at the party and twerk and be the center of attention. That's not what confidence is. You also don't have to be the loudest person in the room to be confident. You can have quiet confidence. And trust me, people can sense quiet confidence just as much as they can sense outgoing confidence. Okay, it's all one and the same. This is part of how we were I was almost going to say raised, but this is part of how we evolved to be able to feel things even outside of the three-dimensional, to be able to feel how someone carries themselves, how they feel about themselves, absorb that energy, and that I call it aura as well, right? To be able to sense and feel someone's aura and better understand or be attracted to them or maybe be unattracted to them, right? And everything that you feel and think about yourself is what your aura ends up consisting of. So if you don't think or much about yourself, or you think that you're not worth much, or you think you don't deserve love, or you don't think that men should be chasing after you, or men should see too much value in you, and that you're a desperate person, desperate for a relationship, desperate for someone to love you, well, that's exactly what your aura will consist of. And for those of you who might be a little bit less spiritual or new here, we talk about aura and spirituality and manifestation, all that good stuff, just as much as we talk about the physical. Because if we don't talk about the spiritual as it relates to relationships, then we're neglecting a whole half of relationships. Okay? It's actually more than half. But it's a very important context to understand. So your confidence in yourself will also communicate to that man that, hey, you're actually believing that you have value, that you can bring to the table, that you're worth someone saying, I want to make you my woman, not just a woman that hangs around. I want to make you my woman. Right? As you have confidence in yourself, the men also have confidence in the fact that you have confidence in yourself. And so it makes them have confidence in you in return. And so you're probably wondering, how do I give myself confidence? How do I give myself confidence? That's a great question. I'm so glad you asked. How you give yourself confidence? It's actually not as hard as you might think. You simply have to start doing things that you enjoy for you. That includes things that you're passionate about. We'll talk about passions in a little bit. And that also includes things that make you feel better about yourself, right? I.e. going to the gym. Now I know you're like, oh, I've heard this before, going to the gym. Well, look, I'm not going to have a size 0 waist. I'm not going to have a dump truck like all the girls I see on IG. I'm not going to have voluptuous yitties like all these girls I see. I'm just an average, regular person. You have to understand the confidence that I'm talking about from going to the gym or doing your skin, having a skincare routine, taking care of yourself, doing your hair. It's not about the actual action of doing that. It's truly not. It's truly not. It's about the mindset shift that happens when you participate in those activities. As you invest in yourself, right? You actually look in the mirror and you see whatever you've been doing. And so what happens is you begin to believe in your own hype because you've been putting in the work. And as you look in the mirror, that increases your confidence in and your belief in your value. Okay. So what I mean by that, for example, when you go to the gym, yes, you're working out, and yes, you're building your muscles, and yes, things are getting stronger and bigger. But in reality, for the most part, for most of us who are maybe average body build, right? We might just be a little bit overweight or a little bit underweight, but nothing crazy. You're not actually going to gain 30 inches on your butt. You're not going to grow voluptuous yitties overnight. Like, your body's not going to change so significantly that it's wild and different, right? Obviously, you might get tighter and more shaped up and things like that. But in reality, when you go to the gym for 1 week and you look in the mirror, there's not that much of a difference. What you're actually feeling when you look in the mirror is the confidence in yourself growing because you have put in that work and invested into yourself. So now when you look in the mirror, rather than looking at your waist or looking at your dump truck and thinking, damn, mine's super small, or damn, mine's not as big as everyone else's, you think to yourself, damn, I see this little bit growing now. Damn, I see this a little bit. I got them hip. And it increases your own view of yourself. Right? Now, when you look in the mirror, you're looking for the positive confirmations of everything that you've been doing. Okay. It kind of relates back to mindset, because as you do things to have a more positive outlook and increase your confidence in yourself, it ends up when you look in the mirror, you have more confidence in yourself. Not necessarily because your life is that much different or things are that much different, but because your focus now is on looking for the confirmations of what you've been doing. If you go to the gym for 3 weeks straight, when you look in the mirror, the first thing you're going to be looking for is the confirmations of all the work you've been putting into the gym. Now, if vice versa, if you're not taking care of yourself, you're not doing things to invest in yourself. I just gave the gym as an example. If you're not taking care of your skin, if you're eating like garbage, if you're hanging out in horrible places, every time you look in the mirror, your mind is going to be focused on confirmations to tell the story and the narrative of how you've been neglecting yourself. And so it creates a snowball effect. As you feel like you have less value and you've been neglecting yourself when you look in the mirror, it makes you feel worse about yourself. So you do less because you feel worse about yourself, and doing less and feeling worse about yourself gives you worse results. And then when you look in the mirror, you confirm these worse results with how you feel. And it's just a vicious snowball cycle. Okay, but you can go positive in the other direction. And so gaining confidence is really about doing things for yourself. For the first time, right, you're actually hearing that you should be selfish and do things for yourself. Do things that you enjoy and do things that give you, make you feel more confident or better about yourself. So, for example, obviously we talked about going to the gym, doing your hair, doing your skincare, doing things to take care of yourself. That's self-care. And then also doing things that you enjoy, we'll talk about passions a little bit, but that your passions, your hobbies, things that you find interesting, right? Because all of these things, when you start combining all of those things, you'll begin to feel more whole. You'll begin to feel less of a void within yourself that you feel the need to fill with a boy. Okay? That confidence that makes you whole stops you from going out into your life and relationships where you feel like, I need to fill this void with a boy. I need to fill my voids with a boy. And you're like boy crazy, right? And everywhere you go, every date you go on, you're like boy crazy. And you're desperate for validation. Remember, I talked to you guys about fun girls earlier. That's what happens to the fun girls. They're so desperate for the validation, and their confidence is so heavily tied to whether guys like them or not, whether guys want to take them out on dates or not, whether guys want to do things with them or not. And it's all about the boys. Their whole focus is their whole confidence comes from the boys. And so if the boys ever take that away by not paying attention to them, they're saying, please look at me. Please look at me. I'll do anything. I'll say yes to anything. I'll be anything you want me to be. I won't talk. I won't eat. I won't do anything that you don't want me to do. I'll just be like a shadow of you, an empty shell that you can project and tell me what to do. Okay? That does not communicate confidence. That actually communicates a lot of insecurity. Okay. And let me be the first to tell you, guys might be attracted to that simply because they can use you. This is why I said there's two different types of categories. They both get attention, but different types of attention, right? Guys might be attracted to the insecure girls because they can use them. That doesn't mean that they respect them. One, that doesn't mean they respect them. And it also doesn't mean that they want to build a serious relationship with the insecure girls. Right? Because if someone's standing on the street and saying, please, someone come around and take this $1,000 out of my hand, after a while, you're like, damn, you really want me to take this $1,000 out of your hand? You're offering it to me for free without anything back? Please take my $1,000. You're the best. I would just love if you take my $1,000. And eventually you think to yourself, I'll just take your money. You're asking me to take your money, so I'll take your money. And it's the same idea, right? These insecure women, even the ones that get attention, it's not really attention because, oh, I want to build a relationship with you. It's attention because, hey, I actually realize I can take advantage of you and you're offering. So if you're offering, I'll do it. It's fine by me. So number 1 was mindset. Number 2 was confidence. Number 3 is standards. I might rant about this one. How many of you feel like you've ever been in a relationship or a situationship where you have lowered your standards for yourself and, that you expect from a guy in the relationship or situationship? Tell me in the chat, have you ever been in one of those situations or relationships where you lowered, looking back on it, you lowered your standards for that man? It's okay. We've all been there, me included. I've lowered my standards for a woman. Okay. Or Shannon C said rant on. SH says my biggest mistake. LB says I have. Batia says me. Tissy Bay says yes as well. Brianna says yes. Say what to what says, can you give us an example? I 100% will. Tissy McKay says I'm one of those, but Batia says me as well. Okay. The reason I talk about standards, and one of the great ways you can prove you are wifey material. I know this sounds counterintuitive, and this is why I had to talk to you guys about fun girls, because if we didn't talk about fun girls, you wouldn't understand what's going on. You'd be like, but I know girls without standards get attention too. Yes, girls without standards get attention too. Not the right type of attention, but they get attention too. You're not worried about the men who are chasing after the girls with no standards. You're going to stick to the script and attract the men who are ready to be with the wife. You're not worried about anyone else. So as it relates to standards, you need to understand this. I know I'm going to rant now. Men actually want to respect you. Okay. News flash to you. I know that might sound crazy. Men actually want to see you as a whole individual with thoughts, feelings, and perspective different from their own. They want to be able to look at you as a rival who is equal and has smarts and intelligence in ways that they only wish they could have. Okay? It's not about you being better than him per se. It's about you having a different skill set that makes him even better when you guys are together. Okay. As it relates to standards, what I mean by that is the men want to respect the fact that you might want to be with them because they're showing you that they're the person that you want to build a relationship with. But that doesn't mean that you will sacrifice your standards for them simply because you want so badly to be in a relationship. As men grow with you and understand you better in the process of building a relationship or a situationship with you, whatever you want to call it, they will begin to grow their understanding of what your standards are and what you're willing to deal with and how you respond to things. I always tell you guys, men might be emotionally stunted, but they are not idiots. Okay, I know that sounds counterintuitive, but it's true. Men understand who they can and cannot do certain things with and around. As time develops and as they meet different people, they understand that they can kind of act up with certain people that will allow them to act up. And with certain people, they wouldn't dare try those things. Okay? Right? It's a thing that we all do. In the process of him growing and understanding you, he will begin to understand what he can and can't get away with. If you are someone with very low standards, or you just abandon your standards simply because you want so badly for this relationship to work, because you want so badly to be in a relationship, he will identify that and he will not respect you. Here's the problem though. You, as a man, we want to respect a girl we view as wifey material, which means if he does not respect you, you cannot be viewed as wifey material, truthfully and honestly. So it's very important that you don't sacrifice your standards because you become all discombobulated watching the girls who are fun girls get attention. And now you're like, oh, but I want some of that attention. I want some of that validation. I'll do anything. I'll lower my standards just like the fun girls. And then maybe I'll get some of the attention too. Sure, you'll get some attention. You'll get very low quality attention. And you'll also attract all the men who are just trying to use you for the time being and then eventually abandon you and move forward with their life. And then when they mature enough and they're looking for a wife, they will not be looking in your direction. Okay? Because I guarantee you, right, when a man is looking for a wife, he's looking for a woman he can actually respect. Do you like let's be for real. Like let's step outside of ourselves. Let's look into the man's eyes. Do you honestly think he's saying to himself, "Hey, I just want more than anything to be in a long-term relationship, have children with, and build a life with a woman who I have no respect for"? Be so for real right now. Do you think that the men are actually feeling that way? That they want to build their life and build a relationship with a woman they do not respect? Okay? The answer to that is no. Right? There is no mature man who is actually thinking to himself, I want to build a relationship with a woman I don't respect. Now, they are thinking to themselves, I want to use and take advantage of a woman I don't respect, but they're not thinking to themselves, I want to build a relationship with a woman I don't respect. And so if that's the case, then you should know, hey, in order for him to respect me, I'm going to have to have standards. I'm going to have to stand up for myself. I'm going to have to demand respect, right? In turn, yes, some guys will be put off by that. The guys who are just simply looking for a fun girl or a good time will be upset or turned off by the fact that you have standards. That's fine. You're not trying to attract those men. This is why I talked about mindset and confidence first, because as you fill those voids in yourself, you will not become beholden to, oh my God, but if he doesn't like me, then my life is over. Or if he doesn't like me, then I'm not validated, right? And your standards will stay your standards regardless of whether someone is into those standards or not. Okay? And you won't be so worried about, oh, but I'm trying to get every guy to like me. No, you're not. You're trying to get the specific man who you are trying to build a long-term relationship with to like you. And the man who's ready to build a long-term relationship with you will want a woman with standards. The men who are not ready for that, who don't want that, or are looking for fun girls or looking for girls they can use and take advantage of, will have a problem with you having standards. Do you see how that works? Are you following me so far? Do you see how that works? When you stick to your standards, yes, you will repel some men, but you'll be repelling the men who aren't for you and who you aren't looking for, which is good. You'll also be the only men you'll be attracting, and the only men that will stay in your life are the men who actually want to respect you and are actually ready to build a relationship with you and know that in order to respect you, you should have standards for yourself. Because remember how I just talked to you guys about the most unfortunate parts of being with the fun girl and the realization that the men come to who end up wifing the fun girl or spending all their time with the fun girl. They eventually realize that it is quite emasculating to be in a relationship with the fun girl, because the same way she says yes to everything for you is the same way she says yes to everything for everyone else too. And now you're in a position where you're having to, as a man, you're having to chase around your girl and keep an eye on her that someone else doesn't steal her from you, because she doesn't know how to set standards and boundaries and expectations and abide by those and say no to things and say no to people, right? And cut people off. And now all of a sudden you're having to have a whole bunch of conversations with your woman and feel emasculated as a man because you're like, well, how come you can't say no to this guy? Can you please not dress like that? I mean, you're dressing, you're literally, your yitties are falling out of your shirt. Can you please not wear that out? I mean, like, damn, I mean, like, they can see your whole thong. It's literally out. Like, you might as well be wearing, and they're just like, it's, trust me, this is coming from a man. There is nothing more stressful as a man than being in a serious relationship with a fun girl that you cannot control and can't tell anything to, because all she's worried about is being liked by everyone and being on display for everyone to see, that everyone will like her and give her attention and give her validation. Trust me, it's one of the most painful experiences as a man. I'm just going to be so for real with you, okay? It's one of the most painful experiences to have as a man. That's why I said it's kind of like a rite of passage in being a man. You have to experience that pain to understand, oh, I realize I'm not looking for that. Okay? I realize that's not what I want. Jennifer said, you just said the word control. When I say the word control, what I mean by that is you can't tell that person anything. You understand what I'm saying? And control happens both ways. As a woman, there's a certain level of control you want to feel and have in your relationship. When I say control, I also mean things simply like if you tell your man, hey, I expect you back by a certain time. You don't get to just stay out till 4 a.m. You don't get to just stay out till 5 a.m. There are standards and expectations here, and you've got to abide by those standards and expectations. That is also a version of control, and it happens vice versa. It happens both ways, right? Not that you're controlling everything that your partner does, but there's a certain level of control that you both have over and with each other in the relationship that keeps the relationship, if that person is willing to be with you and wants to be with you, they're allowing you to control some things, not everything. Okay? So that's what I mean by that. And so standards is very important to have, right? Jennifer says, this is insane. You're a huge red flag. I mean, yeah, I'm a huge red flag. Of course. Did you think that you were talking to a green flag man? No, you're talking to a red flag man. Okay. So standards, very important to have. Okay. So number 1 was mindset. Number 2 was confidence. Number 3, standards. Number 4, we have denial. Okay. Denial is kind of like standards, but it's a little bit different because it's specifically about your ability to say no to things. Okay. I'm going to tell you the truth here. Your ability to say no to things is actually a very big deal. Remember how I talked about standards, and remember how I said being with the fun girl for a man is not very fun. It's not very fun when you're ready to be in a serious long-term relationship. Okay. It's truly not. Now, when I say denial, your ability to say no to things and even say no to him is actually going to show him that you're wifey. I know it sounds so counterintuitive, and I know it makes no sense. And I know you're like, I say no to him, and now you're telling me that he's going to like me more when I say no to him, but wouldn't he get mad? Wouldn't he get upset? Wouldn't he get frustrated? Wouldn't he get bored? Wouldn't he just stop talking to me or stop texting me? No. Okay? Your ability to say no to things also reflects your standards. It also affects your confidence in yourself. You want to know why? Because a confident person can say no to things and not be so beholden or controlled, Jennifer's favorite word, or controlled by the idea that if I say no to you, you might not like me anymore. And I'm so scared of the possibility that you won't like me anymore that I'm going to say yes to everything. This is why I talked about the fun girl at the beginning. Okay? If you're in a position where you can't say no to anything, you can't say no to him ever, what that's going to communicate to him is not that you're so peaceful and so awesome and so amazing and so easygoing. It's actually going to communicate to him that you don't have the guts or the spine to tell him, no, I'm not doing that. No, I'm not participating in that activity. No, I'm not. I respect myself too much. I have these standards for myself. I'm not going to be about that or approach life like that. If you're trying to approach me like that, if that's what you think of me, if that's where you're trying to go with this relationship, I'm not for it. No, 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 no. Okay. And like I said, with these standards, at first, what's what's going to happen? One of 3 things is going to happen. When you tell a man no, so the first possibility that could happen is you tell a man no, and he goes, I can't believe you would tell me no. I can't believe you would dare say no to me. And he'll be shocked. He'll be flabbergasted. And then he'll go on and he'll pretend to be like, he'll throw a whole hissy fit about being shocked and flabbergasted that you would say no to him, and he'll be so upset. And you just stay there and you stay calm and you just chill and relax. And then for some of them, what's going to happen is they're going to be like, well, Yeah, she said no because I was going too far with it. I went overboard with it. She's actually right. And he's going to come back to you and he's going to say, actually, I apologize for what I said. I apologize for what I did. Or I acknowledge that you said no for a good reason and I respect that. It's like a toddler throws a fit for a little bit and then eventually they come back and they're fine. Okay. And then what happens is his respect grows for you, the fact that you said no to him. What also could happen is he throws this fit and then he never comes back. That's fine. Okay. Because you're not looking to attract those men who aren't ready to respect you or allow or are in the mindset that you should be able to say no to things. Okay. Because if he doesn't think you should be able to say no to things and stand up for yourself and demand respect, then he wasn't even there to see you as a whole individual in the first place. He had no intention of building a real relationship with you, because a real relationship is not about you just saying yes to everything and being like a slave, not in a hot way. Okay. A real relationship is about you having your own perspective and views outside of what he wants or thinks or feels. You understand what I'm saying? Okay. So it's very important that you can say no to things. And then the third thing that will happen if you say no to things is a mature man who's already prepared to build a relationship with you will be like, that's perfectly fine that you say no to that. That's okay. And you can continue on the relationship like nothing happened. Okay. For some men, obviously, it'll be such a shock to them that they'll like be taken aback that you would even say no to them. And then they'll come back around. And then for some men, it won't even be a problem. Okay, but at the end of the day, you're only trying to attract the men that are okay with you saying no to things. The idea that you should feel nervous about telling a man, hey, I'm not going to sleep with you on the first or second date. So if you're here for that, please exit stage left. If a man is offended by that, let me be the first one to tell you, he's offended by that because he wasn't planning on spending any significant amount of time with you or growing any type of relationship with you in the first place. A man who is actually ready to invest in you, or at least willing to explore the idea of investing in you and learning with you and growing with you, will not be offended at the idea that you say no to his advances on the first date. Okay, that's a news flash to you. And a lot of times your ability to say no, despite communicating to the guy that you like him and you're interested in him, will actually show him, one, that you have standards, but also that you're not just going to act on emotion and throw away all your morals and values simply because you like him or you're having a fun time. And like I said before, that grows his respect for you. And men only want to be in a relationship with the woman that they feel they can respect. I'm talking about a serious long-term relationship. They might be in a situationship or a talking stage or use you when they don't respect you. But when they actually want to build a long-term serious relationship, they for sure want to respect you. We had a situation yesterday in the Discord where we talked about, by the way, if you guys want to ask me a question in the Discord, make sure you hop over to the Discord. The link is in my TikTok bio, or it's down below in the description on YouTube, and ask me a question, because we're going to get to Discord questions at the end. Yesterday, excuse me, we had an amazing Discord question that was talking about how this guy that she slept with, as soon as kind of they met each other, she felt like they hit it off, but he never really wanted to grow any relationship with her. And she thought that basically he wasn't ready for a relationship. And that was the reason he wasn't building a relationship with her, only to find out after a couple of months that he started building a relationship with another woman. And then she came to the realization that, it actually wasn't him not being ready for a relationship. It really was the fact that he never wanted to be in a relationship with me in general. Okay. And it was really just a me thing, not a him thing. And that realization can be painful. But I say that to say it's so important to understand that the men that want to be with you for real, they want to respect you. Now they'll go out and they'll use girls, and they'll go out and they'll mistreat girls, and they'll go out and they'll take advantage of girls because they can, because those girls are yes girls, because those girls are fun girls, and they'll say yes to anything. And that's quick, easy, and painless. But that doesn't necessarily mean they're trying to build a relationship with those women. Okay, I'll be the first one to tell you. So number 1 was mindset. Number 2 was confidence. Number 3 was standards. Number 4, we have denial. And number 5, we have passions. Okay. Are you guys following along with me so far? Okay. Number 5 is passions. Now, the reason I talk about passions, and you're probably thinking, how do passions prove that I'm wifey material? Let me tell you how passions and hobbies actually show men that you have interests outside of them. And you're probably thinking that's a good thing. Yes, it is. You want to know why? Because it stops men from feeling like you're the be all and end all of their life. Okay. And that is amazing. You never want to we're part of the Players Club here. So we have to be honest with ourselves about how life really is, not how life is how we want it to be. What I mean by that is you never want to give someone the absolute power to feel like they are your entire life and you have nothing going for you outside of them. Passions and hobbies are so important because they show someone, whether it be man or woman, specifically the men, that you care and are invested in things outside of just them. So while they might feel like a priority to you because they're in a relationship with you, they do not feel like they're the only thing you have going for you in your life. And that's good because it keeps them in their place, that they don't ever feel like, oh, I'm going to overstep my boundaries, right? I'm going to do things I wouldn't regularly do because I know they don't have anything else going for them. I'm the best you can ever do. So if I'm the best you can ever do, why would I try to put my best foot forward in the relationship? It doesn't matter. You're not going to leave me. You're not going to be able to do better than me. You're not going to find anyone better than me. Right? It's kind of like you're almost self-sabotaging yourself. It's self-sabotage because as they feed their own ego and truly believe that you can't do better than them and you have nothing going for you, Tissy just said it, they stop trying. Because why would they? They're the best you can do. Right? And once they feel that, they begin to embody that. They begin to talk to you like you're the best, that they're the best you can do. They begin to act like they're the best you can do. They begin to treat you like they're the best you can do. Because you have nothing going for yourself outside of them. And it starts becoming a situation where as they take 1 inch, they take another inch, and then a mile, and then 2 miles, and then 3 miles, and then 10 miles. And then all of a sudden they're treating you completely different than they did before because they've quickly realized, hey, if you're not with me, you won't find anyone better than me. There is no one who's going to do for you what I do for you. There is nothing you have going on in your life going for you that would ever be able to fill the void of being with me. Right? And you might be thinking, but what does passions and hobbies really have to do with that? Well, the passions and the hobbies also subconsciously communicate to him, hey, you actually have things going for you that you care about, that you're focused on, that take up your time and attention outside of just him. And that's good. It keeps the man in check, that he doesn't feel like he can overstep his boundaries, right? And treat you however he wants. And he actually has to live up to some standards because you have other things going for you more than just him. It also communicates to him, hey, she has other things that are competing for her time. If I want to have time with her, I actually have to plan. I actually have to schedule. I actually have to pay attention to the fact that she is busy and has other things and other people and other places to be. So what does that do for you? It increases your value in his eyes. Okay? Because the same way, right? I want you to imagine this. I'll give you this example to better help you understand this idea of perceived value. If I put 2 toys in a box, let's say I had 2 of these Aquaphor sticks, right? And I had one of these Aquaphor sticks was just in my hand like this, okay? Just presented in front of you. The other Aquaphor stick was locked behind a huge black box that's got 10 locks on it, right? It's got like a leather case around it. It looks so expensive, so spectacular. And it's this little tiny Aquaphor inside the box, but you don't know that because it's inside a box. And I asked you, which one do you think is more valuable? Do you think the Aquaphor that's sitting in my hand is more valuable? Or do you think the one that's sitting in this box is more valuable? Which item would you perceive as more valuable if one was sitting like this in my hand and one was inside this huge black box in my other hand? I want you to actually answer that. Which one would you perceive to have more valuable, to be more valuable, if you had to guess which one was more valuable? Okay. I want you guys to actually answer that in the chat. Right? Scotty said the one that's locked away. Daydream said the hidden one. Okay, the one in the box, Harriet says. Brenda says the one in the box. Ivy says amazing how tall they become. Right? The box one, Kamara says, this goes even beyond relationships. It's mental health and self-esteem basics. I agree. The one in the hand, okay? The mysterious one, the mystery box, Missy America says. And the reason I asked that question, first of all, I want you guys to participate. I want to make sure you guys are still here with me. But the reason I say that is because I want you guys to understand that perceived value doesn't even necessarily have to equal actual value. Not that you're not valuable, but I want you to understand half the battle is your perceived value. And so when we talk about you being wifey material, you actually, if you're wifey material, that means you're quote unquote more valuable than the average everyday girl. Okay? And if you're more valuable than the average everyday girl, part of that is your actual value, but also half of that battle is your perceived value. And so when we talk about passions and hobbies and things like that, the fact that those passions and hobbies are going to take up some of your time and attention naturally means that in order to get your time and attention, that person feels like they have to work harder for that. And so what does that do for you? It increases your perceived value in his eyes if he has to compete for your time and attention with other things. Are you guys following me now? Does that make sense? Right? Because as he has to compete with your time, and when I say passions, I mean passions, hobbies, friends, just other things that you have to do and focus your time and energy on. When he feels the need to compete, or that he has to compete or make sure he's on point, because you got other things going for you, because you got other things that are important to you, because you've got other things to spend your time and energy on, your perceived value increases. Okay? The same way in the example that I just gave you guys, it's not really about an Aquaphor stick sitting in my hand being more valuable than the one that's locked away in the box. It's really about the perception of the value that, hey, if one item is locked away in a box and another item is sitting in my hand scot-free, it's probably more valuable because it's locked in a box, which is why they would lock it in a box. So naturally, you're always going to so naturally, the value of something is always going to be attached to your perception of that value. This is why when you enter the Players Club, you realize that life is manipulation. Everything is a function of manipulation in some way, shape, or form, especially every piece of marketing and advertising that's ever come across your face, whether directly or indirectly. Okay? Because perception, perceived value, is also existing in your everyday life. When you go and you shop for clothes, you don't actually realize it, but a lot of the clothes that you're buying are coming from the same sweatshop. Okay? The same kids in China or wherever they are making your clothes and you're receiving them. The only difference is the branding and the marketing and the perceived value of that item. A lot of times, that's the only difference in what you're paying for, is the perceived value. And so I say that as it relates to passions, because passions and hobbies and having other things to do with your time and energy and attention increases your perceived value that, hey, it's not just all about me. Your be all and end all is not just me. I'm not the only thing that you have going on in your life. But what happens is they respect the fact that you're not the only thing that you have, that they're not the only thing you have going on. And what happens is your perceived value increases in their eyes. Okay. So number one, are you guys following me so far? I want to make sure that we're all of the same place. Dane says, should you be going for someone whose perception you need to manipulate? Well, here's the thing, Danes, is that as you join and enter the Players Club, you realize that the best way to get what you want out of relationships and out of life is to strategize on how to have people perceive and receive you in a particular way, that they will value you properly and then treat you properly. The mistake comes when you sit back and think, hey, I should just exist and people should see my value simply for my existence. That's not how that works. You actually have to be strategic and put work into yourself, that you understand how other people are receiving you and perceiving you. That way, they can perceive you in the way that is most valuable to them. And because you are the most valuable to them, they treat you like someone who is really valuable. I always give you guys this example when I talk about having to do things in order for people to value you and actually want you and desire you. I always talk to you guys about, if you're new here, maybe you've not heard this example. If I'm your therapist, if I'm your marriage counselor, and you come to me and you are with your husband and you guys sit down and you're like, hey, our relationship's not really working well. We're not really having any more pineapples. Pineapples, just sex. We're not really having any more pineapples. We're not connecting. We don't desire each other. We're trying to figure out how we can get over this. Please, I need your help. You come to me. I'm the best marriage counselor in all the land. You're paying me $300 an hour to get my advice to help you save your marriage. Because if this doesn't get saved, nothing's going to work. It's going to be over. You guys are going to get divorced. So you come to me and you ask me, what's the solution? What should we do in order to save our marriage that we can desire each other and have great pineapples? And let's say I'm your marriage counselor and I sit there and I tell you, look, don't do anything in order to have you desire each other more. I want you to go home and just choose to desire each other more. That's all. If I was your marriage counselor and that's what I told you was the answer and solution to your problem, would you feel robbed or would you feel like you got your money's worth? Tell me in the chat. As your marriage counselor, I just told you, no, don't do anything. Just go home and just choose to love and desire each other more. Don't do anything different. Just make the choice to do it. Scotty said robbed. CMS said robbed at gunpoint. Rosemary said money lost. Erica said robbed. Susanna said robbed. Okay? And the reason I give that example is because if you can acknowledge that if you wanted to see a difference in your relationship or your marriage in that sense, and you wanted to actually desire each other more and have better pineapples, and you come to me as your marriage counselor and you expect me to give you actionable items, not just go home and choose to desire each other, then you're acknowledging that in order for people to actually desire you and want you more, it requires action on your part. You're literally saying that, right? Because if you didn't think it required action, then you would be okay with the idea of me just telling you and your husband to desire each other more. And just the act of saying that you should do it will make you do it. That you don't actually have to do anything. Neither of you have to actually do anything to help or make it easier for the other person to desire you more. And so that's why I give that example as it relates to what Dane asked earlier, right? Because you're going to have to be aware of your perceived value to people and be strategic about how other people are receiving you, Because when you're strategic about that and they actually value you, they will treat you as if you are someone who is valuable. If you're not strategic about that and you just sit back and put your hands up and allow things to happen, well, then you shouldn't be confused why some people don't see the value in you, because you're not actively putting in concentrated effort to making sure your perception is in line with how you want people to treat you. Okay? It takes effort and it takes work, unfortunately. If you're not prepared for that, or you feel like the world should be just a place where we sing Kumbaya and all just love each other for the sake of loving each other, that's fine. You can go frolic in a flower bloom somewhere. I'm not talking about Dane specifically. I'm just talking about in general. You can go frolic in a flower bloom somewhere, but eventually you will realize that you don't have very happy relationships because people don't really want you. And people don't really treat you how you think you deserve to be treated. You only get the respect in this world that you demand. Okay? So number 1 was mindset. Number 2 was confidence. Kamara said, the way you present and market yourself position you in a proper candidate for the job, whether or not you're actually qualified. Exactly. You're positioning yourself that you can get a whole bunch of amazing candidates, and then you can discover if this person is worth getting the job or not. Okay. Right. So we have mindset, confidence, standards, denial, passions. And now number 6, we have security. Okay. Now, as it relates to confidence and kind of even mindset as well, the security that you have in yourself, right? And notice none of these things that I talk about is, hey, cook better, be a better chef, be a better maid, clean his clothes better. That's not what it's about. That's not what's going to convince a guy that you're wifey material. Security in yourself is going to show him that you are not desperate for his validation. Okay. That you don't need him to like you in order for you to feel good about yourself. This kind of goes in line with passions, because as he understands that you're not seeking or desperate for his validation, what actually ends up happening is you flip the script on him, because he starts to feel the anxiety of, oh, you don't really care if I validate you or I like you or I want you. And then he starts to feel like, but I kind of want you, and I want you to see me, and I want you to want me. And so the natural act of him chasing after you and chasing after your validation and him trying to prove himself to you, the natural, masculine chasing pursuit type of aesthetic and approach ends up happening, right? Because you're secure in yourself. You're not needing his validation. All the men want you. You already know that. And they want you because you're amazing. You already know that. That's not a newsflash to you. So the fact that he wants you, join the line of 1,000 other men, okay? Get in line. Now his job is, hey, I'm in a line of 1,000 other men. I got to figure out some way to stand out here. I got to figure out some way to show that I'm the best person. And so that's when the pursuit of you starts. Okay. And so your security in yourself is also going to convey and send a message that I'm not here to seek your validation or approval. I don't need it. I already know the value that I bring to the table, and I'm confident in that value that I bring to the table. And remember what I said earlier, the men want to respect you as an individual. They want to respect you as a whole human being with your own individual thoughts and perspectives. They want to see you as someone who is capable, not someone who is the scum beneath their feet. Okay? And so I say that to say your security in yourself is also going to be sending an outward message to him on whether or not you're wifey material, because the girls who are insecure are going to represent fun girls. Remember how I said it's equal and opposite forces. So if a secure girl is going to be embodying wifey material, the fun girls are going to be embodying insecure energy. Okay? Because the fun girls are so scared and so nervous that people won't like them. People won't want to spend time with them, want to be around them, that all they can think about is more and more and more approval. And so every time they find themselves in a new relationship with a new guy, they're so insecure in themselves. They have so little confidence. Their whole MO is, how can I get as much approval and validation from this man as I possibly can? Right? And as you begin, remember, we talk about energy, we talk about spirituality all over here. So if you're new to this might be news to you. That is energy that you are projecting outwardly as you're insecure and desperate for the validation. Those men receive that from you in the way you act, the way you talk, the way you go about life. Trust me, people are receiving that. They then determine, oh, this is one of those insecure girls. She's very insecure. Then their second thought is, I probably don't really respect her enough to make her my wife, but I definitely could take advantage of her. I definitely could use her. I definitely could get what I want from her. You see how that works? So they kind of transition you from one category into the other simply by sensing you're an insecure woman, right? Because the insecure woman, they're thinking to themselves, well, I don't really have to respect her if she's so insecure. She's already seeking my validation. She's already desperate for my attention. So what's the point of me even doing anything, right, that makes me look like the best man? What's the point of me pursuing her? She's already so insecure. I actually could manipulate that insecurity and string her along. I could manipulate that insecurity and just, have her in a position where she's giving away her Squirtle to me time and time again, and I'm not promising her any sort of real relationship. But because she's so desperate for my validation and approval, she'll just stick around. So insecurity, they start to think to themselves, they start thinking to themselves, that insecurity I can really use to my advantage. And the crazy part is they waste all your time, right? Because you're so insecure, you're waiting for the day where he'll give you validation and turn you into a wife, right? So you're desperate for that day and you waste a whole bunch of your life. And then what happens is, after some daydreams are set of exploitation, after a while of him getting tired of literally squeezing the life out of you, he literally takes everything that you've given him and he goes out into his life and he seeks the girl who is not insecure and not looking for his validation. And then he ends up wifing that girl. That's why some of you have ended up in situations where you're sitting here, kind of like the girl we had yesterday, wondering why, oh my God, I'm doing everything that this man could possibly want. I'm saying yes to everything. I'm lowering all my standards. I'm letting him treat me any way I want. And he still doesn't see me. He still doesn't want to make me his wife. He still doesn't want to make me his girlfriend. And you spend 1 year of your life invested in this man only for him to turn around and wife a girl in like 2 weeks. Right? And you're like, what happened to the whole concept that you weren't ready for a relationship? All of a sudden you turn around and you're with a new girl and now you're ready for a relationship. Yeah. Because that girl wasn't chasing after his approval. Because that girl didn't need his validation. Because that girl wasn't seeking him out. He was seeking her out. Okay. Daydream says try 5 years, even worse. Right? And it's crazy. And for some of you, you might have even been on the other side of that, in a guy going from being with a girl that he was basically playing around with and never had any real intentions with. And then when he meets you, he's ready to wife you immediately because he knows he wants you. Right? Some of you might have even been in that situation in the opposite sense. Okay, so security is very important. So number 1 was mindset. Number 2, standards. Then we had denial. Then we had passion, security. Number 7, we have consistency. Okay. Now you're probably thinking, what does consistency have to do with being a wife? Right? Your ability to be reliable and responsible as an individual and as a partner is showing him that you are consistent. Okay. There are plenty, I'll be the first one to tell you as a man, there are plenty of women who talk a big game. When I say they talk a big game, I mean they are able to tell you all the ways how they're not like any of the other women. They are not going to sleep with people immediately. They're not going to do things like the other girls would do them. They're not easy like the other girls. But then after a while of you putting just a tiny bit of pressure on those women, you realize that they're very similar to every other girl you've ever met. All it took was a little bit of applied pressure. And so consistency in your standards, consistency in your morals and values, and not wavering no matter what happens, right, will also show him that you are wifey material, because you can't wife a girl who is only a good partner 20% of the time, who only has standards and expectations 20% of the time. You need someone who is consistent in their character and their personality, that can be reliable. And I don't mean perfect. I mean reliable and consistent in the way that they approach life and relationships. That will show. This is why I always, I'm going to get mad. This is why I always tell you guys, throw away the men who are trying to convince you that they know you're their wife in the span of 2 days. Okay? Get rid of that mind state. Because think about what I just said. If I'm talking to you about consistency, how can someone possibly know that you're consistent by the second date? How can someone possibly know that you're consistent by meeting you or seeing you for the first time? Impossible. Impossible. Okay? Right? Not possible. And so you have to understand that if consistency is playing a role in a guy, knowing and understanding that you're wifey material, then that also means that the men who are trying to convince you that they knew that they wanted you to be their wife in the first 30 seconds weren't actually looking for a wife. They were actually looking for an avenue to manipulate you to get what they wanted from you. Okay? So your ability to be a consistent person in the way you approach relationships and your character and who you are and what you stand for is also very important. Because like I said, guys know that a lot of girls will talk a big game and not actually back any of that up. And the moment you apply a little bit of pressure on them, they'll fall like a house of cards. It's quite crazy. And the men understand that. So a lot of times they're going to test you in the span of getting to know you and learn you and understanding you and really deciding if you're a wife. They will test you to see if you're really about what you say you're about. Okay? That's why it's very important. If you're, pro tip, you're better off not specifying a standard that you have or an expectation that you have if you know that you're going to not abide by that forever. Why do I say that? Because the moment you say you're not going to do something, especially as it relates to like him and you. So let's say, for example, the moment you say, hey, I don't sleep with people on the first week, so don't be thinking we're going to sleep together on the first week of knowing each other. And then you go ahead and sleep with him on the first week. That's even worse than if you didn't say anything. Because that shows him that with the right amount of pressure, right, with the right approach, you will fall flat on your face and go a complete 180 on anything you say. And so in the future, what's going to happen is he's going to lose respect for any time you try to stand up for yourself or set boundaries. And we'll talk about boundaries in a little bit. Anytime you want to set boundaries in the relationship, he's going to know, no, she's not consistent. Let me just apply a little bit of pressure. Let me just approach it this particular way. And I know I can get her to crumble. That's not good. He'll begin to lose respect for your own voice, your own individual voice and your own individual thoughts, because he'll know he doesn't have to respect those thoughts or feelings. That's why consistency is so important. You guys following me? Okay. Gotta be consistent. So number one, we had mindset. Then it was confidence. We have standards, denial, passions, security, consistency. Number 8, we have communication. Now, I don't want you to think of communication as, hey, I just speak my mind. When I talk about communication as it relates to proving to him that you're wifey material, what I'm talking about is your ability to communicate your thoughts, feelings, and emotions in a clear, concise manner. Okay? This might not be shocking to you that, oh, men are thinking of girls as wifey because of it. Yes. Think about the qualities. Really sit down and think to yourself, what are the qualities that would probably make the best life partner? Those are the qualities you need to be embodying. In the span of a relationship, one of the most important things is your ability to resolve conflict. Conflict resolution is like a majority of all romantic relationships, because it's two individuals who are going to spend the rest of your lives together, who have two different perspectives, who grew up in two different childhoods, in two different houses with different parents and a different understanding of life. You're going to disagree. You're going to not see eye to eye every time. Not everything's going to be roses and dandelions. Dandelions are actually weeds. So not everything is going to be rainbows and sunshines. Okay? So it's very important that in the process of building a relationship, that each person, not just you and not just him, but each person has an ability to communicate and articulate their thoughts and feelings in a way that is clear and concise. And especially for you as a woman, he is, as a man, I'll tell you from a man's perspective, our natural instinct is to try and solve problems, right? Our natural instinct as protectors and providers is to solve problems, to help our women. So I say that because if you're able to clearly and concisely communicate your thoughts and feelings, then it makes it easier for him as a man to solve your problems, or at least help you solve your problems. And so the women who are best at communicating their thoughts, feelings, and emotions are the best and most valuable wifey candidates. That is an amazing quality to show him that you're actually a life partner, not just a person. Okay? And I know for some of you might be like, do guys even pay attention to that? Do guys even care about? Trust me, whether or not he's smart or too stupid to explain it and explain why it matters, he can feel it. Because the same way he probably knows when someone can explain their thoughts and feelings and emotions in a clear, concise manner is the same way he's probably been frustrated dealing with a woman who cannot explain her thoughts, feelings, and emotions in a clear, concise manner. I'm telling you as a man, I'm going to get mad. It's very frustrating to deal with that. Okay? Because it's very hard to build on that. Stargirl says, can you give us examples of communication in a clear, concise manner? Okay. An example of articulating and communicating your feelings would be, let's say you go out to a party, an event together. And while you're at this event together, he's kind of talking in the group of people. And let's say he doesn't really introduce you. And then he's kind of talking to his friends and he's having a conversation and you're just kind of standing there awkwardly and you don't really know what to say. And then you kind of just like walk away and you just pretend to go to the bathroom because it's been like 20 minutes and he hasn't introduced you. And now you're just kind of standing there and it feels really awkward for you. Something small, right? It bothers you, but he might not even realize it bothers you. He's having a good time. He's talking to his friends and all this good stuff. You guys are in the car ride back home and then he's asking you, he's like, what's wrong? Is something bothering you? Because you're kind of quiet, you're kind of not being yourself. And so he can feel that energy shift. He's like, are you okay? What's wrong? What's bothering you? And let's say a lack of an ability to communicate properly would be you sitting there and say, what's your problem? Like what, you don't even know what you did, or like, you know what you did. You know what you did. Like, I can't believe you. You're such a poop head. I can't even talk to you right now. And he's like, wait, what? I'm confused. What's the problem? And you're like, every time you just mistreat me and you never treat me how I'm supposed to be treated. And you don't even care about me and and you're like breaking down. He's like, wait, but what is the problem? I don't understand. What's the issue? and you're just like, you're just fumbling around, right? And you're like crying, you're going crazy, you're just like, I don't understand how you don't get it, you don't understand me, it doesn't make any sense to me how you could treat me. And then he's like scrambling in his mind, like, I don't know what I did wrong. I'm so confused. I'm so confused, right? And then there's just this vicious cycle of, I'm confused, you're confused, we're both confused. Why are you mad? I don't know why you're mad. I can't solve your problem. I don't know why you're mad. Nobody understands anything, and there's a whole bunch of confusion. Okay. And remember how I said men naturally want to solve your problems as a man? He can't solve your problems when you can't communicate or articulate your feelings in a clear, concise manner. And so I say that to say, in the process of learning and understanding you, as he begins to sense, oh no, I can, even if I'm emotionally stunted, you're so clear in your communication of your feelings and your and your thoughts, that I can actually absorb that and I can help you solve your problems. Okay. And as a man, if you've ever been with a woman who is also kind of emotionally stunted, where she can't communicate her feelings, you know how much better it is being with someone who can, because you can actually come to understandings and solve problems. When you're with someone who can't communicate as a man, it becomes very frustrating because you're constantly having fights and you don't know how to resolve those fights because you're not really sure what the root of the problem or the issue is. Think about this. Part of the reason that you're here and you're talking to me and you're listening to me, right? And you enjoy hearing what I have to say from a man's perspective is because of my ability to articulate the thoughts and the feelings of a man, because that helps you put pieces together and problem solve in your relationships and your dating life, that you can understand how to adjust or change behavior or actions to see the result that you desire to see. Okay. So I say that to say, that's how valuable that skill set is. And that's one of the things you can actually show a man, that he'll be like, whoa, you're like this, you are prepared for a relationship. You are not like the other women, because the other women, remember why I said equal and opposite forces, the other women, the yes girls, are not very good at communicating their feelings for a couple of reasons. And it's actually mainly because they don't want to even communicate their feelings. They're so busy trying to be liked, right? And trying to be validated by the guys that like them. Even if they do have a problem with something, they're not going to communicate that to you. Or they'll have this glitch error code because they want to say that something bothers them, but they're too scared to say that something bothers them because they don't want to not be liked anymore. And they don't want to be seen as a problem. And they don't want to be seen as hard to get along with. And because they're still so desperate for the validation, they're having like this internal battle with themselves of, how do I communicate this but still be liked and still be validated and still be like a good yes girl and still, right? And because they're having this battle with themselves, their words and their thoughts don't come out in a clear, concise manner. Instead, they come up in this jumbled up mess where the person trying to communicate their feelings is also frustrated that they're even upset in the first place. And they're trying so badly to not be frustrated, it's frustrating them more. And because they're more frustrated, right, their words come out even less clear. And everything just ends up in confusion. Okay? Right? Nifasimi says, how do you become better at communicating? The best way I would advise you to become a better communicator is, I want to say looking inward, but you're probably like, what does looking inward even mean? You have to accept the fact, I think honestly, acceptance is the first thing. You have to accept the fact that you, in the process of being in a relationship with someone, you're not always going to agree with them. And you also have to change your perspective on conflict resolution. Once you understand that the more I communicate and the clearer I am, even if I over communicate, the more someone will understand me and the more they'll be able to help me solve this problem and feel better. That is good. You'll begin to approach things slightly differently. Because here's the thing. Sometimes we battle with ourselves where we think, oh, I don't want to have a problem because then I'm just causing problems. But what happens is you're never going to not have a problem with things you have a problem with. right? You're never going to not have a problem with things you have a problem with. So it's better to accept that you're going to have problems or things that bother you and actually be like, hey, this bothers me, but the clearer I am and the more I communicate this problem, the more this person will understand me and be able to help me solve this problem or get through this problem. The more I stay quiet. So just think of it like this, right? Think of it as two versions of you. Present you, right, wants to stay quiet and not say anything and be peaceful. But if present you stays quiet and be peaceful and not say anything, not address the thing, future you is going to be stuck with the baggage of what present you just decided. So future you is going to be really upset because present you made the decision to stay quiet, because now future you still has the same problems and they're probably worse now. Okay? And think about how you can best serve future you by, in the present, communicating what's wrong and what bothers you, realizing that the worst thing that could possibly happen, the absolute worst thing that could possibly happen, is the person hears you out and maybe disagrees with you. That's the worst thing that could possibly happen. The best thing that could happen is they come to a realization, I didn't even know that that's what you wanted or that's what you thought or that's what you felt. Now that I know, now that I understand, I will adjust that behavior. Okay? Nifasimi said, yeah, future me hates past me. That's the thing. A lot of times we're not doing things for future us. We're doing things for present us, or to ease. Some of us too, we are so scared of, we're so afraid of conflict that we feel like it's easier and more painless to keep quiet, but we're self-sabotaging because in the future, we only end up in more pain because we're keeping quiet. So you kind of have to look at it as, which version of myself do I want to serve? Do I want to have things be painless right now and not have to discuss my feelings or emotions right now, but in the future I suffer? Or do I want to just address how I feel right now in a clear, concise manner, and in the future I will feel better? Okay, you're going to have to experience the pain one way or another. You can either experience it now and not later, or you can hold it off and be pain-free now, but you'll definitely experience that pain even worse in the future. Once you have once you change your perspective on that, it makes it a lot easier to have hard conversations with people, okay? Because you realize that they're serving you for the better, okay? Princess says being quiet builds emotional pressure. 100%, I agree. The worst is they hear or acknowledge. Let me see what Matt said, because everyone was like, facts. The worst is they hear or acknowledge it, but then continue to do it. Well, then see, that's the thing. In the process of you learning and understanding someone, if you continue to communicate how you feel or what you think or what you want or expect from someone, and then they continue to do that, then that is a clear sign that they're not actually ready to be in a relationship with you. Because if they actually cared about you and truly wanted to build a relationship with you, they would adjust that behavior. That's also a clear indicator that you're not in the right relationship, because conflict resolution is part of that. Not everyone's going to be perfect, but if you find yourself in a place where you're with someone and you communicate and articulate your feelings and thoughts, and then they continue doing that thing, well, then you know that's an overt sign and an overt signal that they do not care about what you feel or what you think. Okay? And if they're communicating to you that they don't care what you think or what you feel or what you want, and they're not willing to adjust their behavior, then they're not ready to be in a relationship with you in general. And so then the question becomes, why are they there then? Because anyone who is ready to be in a relationship with you, now I'm not saying everyone will be perfect, and as soon as you tell them the thing the first time, they'll stop doing it, right? But anyone who is actually ready to be in a real and build a real relationship with you will understand the concept of, hey, if you don't like this thing, if this thing you have a problem with, I will at least attempt to adjust my behavior. I might not do a 180 overnight, but at least we'll come up with some sort of strategy so that we can both be happier, right? There might be a compromise there. It might not be absolutely everything that you want, but there will be some effort made to adjust the behavior. Okay, so that was kind of a sidetrack. So we had mindset, confidence, standards, denial, passion, security, consistency, communication. Number 9, we have boundaries. Okay, we're going to get deep here. Deep here. You need to have boundaries in order for you to be considered wifey material. I'm just going to come tell it to you straight up. If you don't have boundaries, men will have the clear understanding and indication that they can walk all over you anytime that they want to, any way that they want to. Your boundaries communicate your standards. They communicate your expectations. And if you allow people to cross those without consequences, they will see that they are no consequences for anything, and they will begin to treat you and treat the relationship as if there are no consequences. If there was no risk of jail time for stealing and doing bad things, trust me, a lot of people would steal and do a lot more bad things if there were no consequences. The same way in a relationship, if there are no boundaries in the relationship and you're not willing to stand by those boundaries and have people face consequences for them crossing those boundaries, they will do whatever they want, however they want, whenever they want. You are not, remember I told you before, the men naturally do want to respect their wifey, okay? The girl that they actually make their wife, they want to have respect for. If you allow him to walk all over you and you allow him to cross your boundaries and you don't even set boundaries in the first place, he will stop respecting you if he ever started respecting you at all. Once he loses respect for you, you stop being a wifey and you turn into a fun girl that he can just use and take advantage of. Think about it. Do you think that men wake up in the morning and say, I want a wife, the girl who will allow me to walk all over her. I want to make the mother of my children. I want to spend the rest of my life with the woman that will allow me to do whatever I want, whenever I want, however I want, walk all over her, cross every single one of her boundaries, and never say anything about it. Think about that logic, really. No man would ever say that's what he wants in a wife, that he wants the ability to walk all over you and cross any one of your boundaries and face it doesn't make sense, because if he wanted that, he wouldn't be in a relationship with that woman. Why would he commit himself to someone that he doesn't respect? Why would he commit himself to someone who doesn't have boundaries? He would just use that person. Are you following me? So it's not about, I wouldn't give my attention to that person. He would, but he would use that person, not be in a relationship with that person. If I find a girl on the street, if I go to the club and I find a girl and I meet a girl and I realize she has no boundaries, I might give her attention and I might use her for my own pleasure. That doesn't mean I'm going to be in a relationship with her. Okay? Right? The fact that she has no boundaries is good for me. And why would I be in a relationship with a girl who has no boundaries? It doesn't make sense. I don't have to be. I can get everything I want from her and do whatever I want to her, however I want to her, without being committed to her. Why would I take the extra step of committing myself to her when she has no boundaries? It's kind of like saying, hey, I need a loaf of bread, but there's no jail time if I steal from the local convenience store. So why would I not steal? Why would I pay if there's no consequences for me? Just let's say that's how life was. You could just go into any store, walk out with anything you wanted. No one would chase you. No one would say anything to you. No one would yell at you. You wouldn't get a message. You wouldn't go to jail. You would nothing. So why would you not? Why would you put in the effort of paying for the thing when you can just walk out of it scot-free and nobody says it? Not even the cashier, not even the owner. Think of it like that. It's the same thing with boundaries. If there are no boundaries, why would I treat you right? Why would I respect you? Why would I wife you? There's no reason to. I don't need to. Why would I make the girl my wife who has no boundaries? She has no boundaries. So I could treat her like trash, get what I want from her, anytime I want it from her, and go about my day. Doesn't require commitment. Doesn't require any effort. Doesn't require respect. Okay, Rosa says, because you're a respectful man. Here's a newsflash to you, Rosa, and anyone else that thinks that they're going to get respect from men for the sake of just existing. You will not. You will only get the respect in this world that you demand from people. That goes for men and women. No man is going to come around and respect you for your existence. You will either demand that respect or you will not receive respect. Trust you me. And it's the same thing for men. So don't think that I'm just singling you guys out because you're women. As a man, I don't get to just go out into the world and say, hey, all you people in this room shall respect me. I deserve respect for being a human being. They'll be like, shut the hell up. Go sit down somewhere. We don't know who you are, right? That's just not how life works, right? You get respect that you demand from people, and you show them that through your actions and through what you will accept or not accept from people. Okay, that's kind of part of joining the Players Club, is understanding that respect is not something that people hand out. Okay, if you're not demanding your respect from people, they won't bother respecting you, because why would they? That's not how the world works, where we respect and treat people well for the sake of, I'm just treat you well. It's just no. I respect you because if I don't respect you, there are consequences for that. And that's how people operate, more based on the fear of losing someone, right? And the fact that they respect someone, and out of kind of a little bit of fear of not having access or being able to be with that person, or everything that they might lose if they're not with that person, more than they do of, I treat you well because I just want to treat you so well. Partially it's that, but it's also, I treat you well because I know if I don't treat you well, I ain't going to have no more access to you. And I really like you. I really like you. So the consequence of me not having you, I don't want that. I treat you well, right? What consequences would you consider effective? Nifasimi says it really depends on the situation, right? That's a very blanket statement that I couldn't, it would be impossible for me to tell you what are good consequences when there's so many different situations or boundaries that someone could cross. Okay. What I will say is you have to be smart enough to be able to decipher how to give appropriate consequences for appropriate crossing of boundaries. Okay. And this is where you guys got to kind of use your brain. Don't use me as a crutch where you're like, okay, so Tomisin told me that this, if he crosses this boundary, I'm going to read in textbook section, page 45, section B, paragraph 35. He says to act like this and say exactly this in this order. You won't actually be able to live your life or have real relationships if that's how you think. Okay, take the concept and figure out how you can implant it and utilize it in your everyday life. That way you can be able to deal with a plethora of different situations. You're not just like a robot having an error that because I didn't tell you exactly how to respond in this situation, you're like, I'm stuck now. Okay, I don't want that for you. So we had number 1 was mindset. 2, we had confidence, standards, denial, passion, security, consistency, communications, boundaries, and number 10, your ability to walk away. If you cannot walk away from that man, he will not see you as wifey material. He won't have no respect for you. He won't need or want anything from you except your squatal. Do you understand? Right? You want to be seen as a wifey? You need to be prepared and willing to walk away from situations that no longer serve you. Now, I'm not saying at the first sign of trouble, you need to block people, okay? You don't have to take it in any one extreme. But there needs to be, right, an understanding that if someone crosses too many boundaries, if someone is not treating you well, if someone is showing you that they're not prepared to be the man that you expect them to be, you are more than willing to walk away. I want you to imagine it like this analogy. Let's say you're running a department store, and in your department store, let's say there's 2 versions of this department store. In one version, this person comes in and is talking to you about how they're considering buying one of your shirts, but you literally have had no customers in the entire day. What's going to happen is when that one customer comes, because you've had no customers and you're really hoping to get the sale, you're going to sit there and you're going to say, hey, oh, sure, what color are you looking for? What do you need? What sizes? You're going to help them try stuff on. And even if they don't end up buying anything, right? You're not going to see it as a loss because you're going to have wanted to figure out, hey, I'll spend as much time with you as I possibly need to figure out if I can get the sale or not, right? You're going to put a lot more effort in that. Vice versa, right? If you are in a situation where you're running that same department store and you've got 1,000 people in the line, you've got people all over the store ready to buy. It's like pandemonium. And that same person comes to the cash register and says, hey, I'm thinking about buying this. You don't even have time to hear that. Why? Because you have so much more going on. And there's so many other people who are willing to buy. You don't have time to be focused on people who aren't ready to buy or purchase. Okay? So, and I say that to say the analogy is meant to represent if you know that you have value, you're confident in your value, you have standards, you know that men want to be with you, near you, close to you, inside you, all that good stuff. They're begging, crawling on their knees, crawling on glass, sniffing your farts, sniffing your chairs. You are not going to concern yourself with spending any time or energy on people who are showing you that they're not prepared to be with you in the capacity that you expect. Okay? That's why I say you have to take care of these other things as it relates to your confidence, filling up your own holes, doing all the things that are important to you, validating yourself, that you are more than prepared to walk away from any situation or any man who is not showing himself to be who you need him to be. And like I said earlier, the men want to respect you. They will feel that. You don't even necessarily have to walk away all the time. They can feel that from the jump that you're someone they shouldn't be messing with. I told you, guys are emotionally stunted, but they're not idiots. They know who they can pull certain things on and who they can't. And after a while of getting to know you, they realize what they can get away with and what they can't. And your ability to walk away will communicate to him, yeah, I shouldn't try that with her. No, she'll gladly leave the relationship if I act up or act crazy, right? That's why these men are in relationships and they say, yeah, guys, I'm not going to do that. My wife, she wouldn't approve of that. Yeah, no, my wife would hurt me if I did that. I'm not doing that. You must be crazy if you think I'm going to do that. Right? Because there's an understanding that my wife has standards. My wife has expectations. I must abide by those standards and expectations, even if I don't like them, even if they're not super fun all the time. I got to live by those. I can't undo those. I can't overstep those boundaries. Those are boundaries. Okay? And men want to be in a position like that when it comes to the wife. I'm not talking about all women, in general. But when it comes to their wife, they want to be in a position like that. And when you approach a relationship like that, you're sending those signals out to him that, hey, you're a different type of girl. You're the wifey material type of girl. You're not the fun girl that I can take advantage of. So you might get a different type of attention, but trust you me, you will still get attention, and you'll get attention from the men who are ready to make you their wife. That's all you want anyways. I think for most of you. I don't think any of you really want to be someone's fun girl. I would assume so. Okay? So any questions as it relates to what we just discussed? Natasha says, men will submit to the wife as he does unto the Lord if we are the one. I can get down with that, right? Listen, men aren't going to respect every woman, but they will respect their women. Their woman. Okay? So the woman that is theirs, the woman that they call their wife, they will respect. Not every woman, but the one that they call their wife, they will respect. And so when you understand that, all you're looking for is the men who are actually trying to respect you. And you shouldn't be thinking about how you can actively change yourself to be more approved or validated from men, because you're not trying to get validation from every man. You just want to be respected by the man who's ready to build a relationship with you. Okay. SH says, why do so many men want a traditional woman as a wife? Well, what do you mean by traditional? Do you mean like a stay-at-home mom, or like or submissive wife? What do you mean by traditional? What if you try to set boundaries later in the relationship if you didn't do that before? I'll be honest with you. You're going to find it very difficult to... that man is going to be shocked, one, and you might come to the realization that he didn't have enough respect for you to respect your boundaries. Excuse me. In some cases, he might be like, oh, I see that you're on a new level now. You actually have standards. For some of them, they might be like, wait a second. I was only anticipating that you didn't have standards or boundaries. And now that you're setting those, not for me. Truthfully, because some men are with you because, or dealing with you, I should say, because you don't set boundaries. And so that's part of the reason they're dealing with you. So for some men, if you do that, they might walk away because they were only here if you weren't going to set boundaries. Why would a man want a situationship and not a relationship with a girl? Because he can get what he wants from her without committing to her and still deal with other girls. I don't know what they really mean by traditional. I hope you could tell me that. Well, traditional is really about... traditional is kind of a buzzword now too, because I don't really know what it means and nobody knows what it means. Because what is traditional? Traditional as in like stay-at-home moms? I don't believe in necessarily women have to be like that. So then I technically don't believe in traditional women. But then some people are like, no, traditional is not stay-at-home mom. Traditional is a submissive woman. Okay, so it kind of depends on your definition of traditional, right? Everyone kind of seems to have a slightly different definition of traditional. Bree says, what makes men lose interest? If you have no boundaries, truly, because they just stop caring about you and stop thinking about you. So as you have no boundaries, no standards, you say yes to everything. They don't think a lick about you. They just think about how they can use you. Right? How do you maintain your boundaries without slipping up? You have to acknowledge, if you really want to maintain your boundaries, just remember that every time you allow someone to cross your boundaries with no consequences, future you suffers. Right? Lily says, why did he talk to me for a week after meeting from Tinder but not set a date in person? That's more like a situation. I want you to go ask your situation in the Discord. My Discord link is in my TikTok bio. Okay? Shannon C says, would you call a man out on distance or would you just ignore it? Yes. Anytime he crosses your boundaries, call him out. Don't let things sit, because then they get the idea that they can act however they want. Don't do that. Don't do that to people. Ivy earlier says, I like a dog. Seems mean, but it's not. No, truthfully, I always tell you guys that you got to treat it like a dog. If you let your dog just run around and do whatever he wants, when that dog grows old, the dog will still be running around, barking, biting people, doing whatever they want. You really have to set boundaries with people, human beings in general, so that they can understand this is how you treat me. This is how you act. If you don't do that, you ain't gonna get me. Okay? Ivy said guys are so much more direct to each other. They aren't China cups. I agree. Guys are direct with each other. Okay. How do you move from a situationship to a relationship? I'll make a live stream about that. The answer might be a little bit disappointing to you though, because some of these men aren't even interested in you in the first place. Not you specifically, but you, the general term. Okay. And to the dirty men down boy, Natasha says, that's funny. Kamara says, never the fun girl, always the boundaries girly. I 100% agree. Lee says, why men have no respect for women? Because why would they unless they demand that respect? Okay, let's head over into the Discord. I hope you guys all had your chance to ask me questions in the Discord. For those of you that had questions, we're going to answer some of our questions in the Discord. It's Discord time. It's Discord time. It's everyone say in the chat, it's Discord time. Okay. Here we go. All right, so we're going to answer some of these relationship questions in the Discord. Let's get to it. Okay. So number one here, we got done. We have done. Okay. It's Discord time. Done says, friend zoned. Sorry, that's the title. So I've been was speaking to someone, and that was for 8 months. I ended up having feelings, because of certain things that were said, but yet was told I'm a friend. But I had hopes that we could end up becoming someone, so I started developing feelings and confessed it and said I don't want to talk to him, and told him how much he hurt me at times. And he said he really still wants to be friends, but if this is hurting me that much, he'll just let me be. So now we haven't been talking for 2 weeks, and I'm wondering, will he ever reach out to me? Also, we've been seeing each other, but only 4 times. I think you might say 4, like the number 4 times out of that 4 months. Okay. You didn't really ask a question here at the end. My advice to you is this guy, and I want you guys to also put your thoughts down here as well. My advice to you, truthfully, I don't want to be mean, but you have to understand, like, if a guy likes you, like, you're not going to have to convince him to like you or see you or notice you or want you. I know it sounds mean and rude and not what you want to hear, but truthfully, he probably just doesn't care enough about you to be bothered to build any sort of relationship with you. I'm not saying that it's because you're a bad person or because you're unattractive or because you're useless or anything like that. But you just have to understand that not every guy is going to be your guy. But it seems like you're in a position where I don't know if you guys slept together, because you just said you guys were speaking, okay? And you end up having feelings. But he told you that you're a friend. So were you really talking? That's why I'm confused. Because if he told you that you were a friend and you're saying that you guys were speaking, were you actually speaking, or was he just having an ongoing friendship with you for 8 months? Right? SH says a guy who likes you wouldn't stop talking to you. I 100% agree. So honestly, I just think that your best bet is to move forward, because there's nothing to salvage here. He doesn't seem to have any romantic feelings towards you, and that's fine. Like, he's allowed to not have romantic feelings for you, but then you need to accept that he doesn't, and not be trying to convince him to have feelings for you. Okay, that's my advice to you. Honestly, you just got to move forward, and then when a guy wants you, he will pursue you. You won't have to be doing all that. Okay. Next we have user. Okay. User says, is there any way to build a stronger attraction? Following my previous message, I was curious if you sleep in the same bed, no pineapples, kissed, hugged too fast with a guy, but no pineapples. Is there a chance to grow attraction? Is this enough to make him lose interest, or is it only when you give out Squirtle? I would advise to you that even kissing and hugging in bed, I mean, we're grown. I hope you're grown. So kissing is not that big of a deal in terms of, like, that's not what's going to make him feel like, oh, well, I lost interest because I kissed her or hugged her. But if we're talking about Squirtle, yes, that can make a guy lose interest because you've given him everything he wanted right away. There is a chance to grow attraction, and my advice to you would be not focus on the physical and focus on the mental and emotional. So sit down in a quiet room with him, and even if you have to write down your questions before, or just be like, hey, let's make each give each other 30 questions to ask each other, and like try and make them deep. Like, deeper conversations and a deeper understanding of that individual will definitely bring you guys closer together, and that will actually grow your attraction to each other, because attraction is not just being attracted to their body, it's also being attracted to their mind, their spirit, all that good stuff. So in the process of building an emotional connection with that person and an emotional understanding of that person, that's what also grows. That's actually what grows the attraction even more than the physical, because you can have someone that you're not really that physically attracted to, and in the process of being with them or being around them so much and talking to them, you start to become more attracted to them. If you're young though, that's might be why you're saying this kissed and hug type of thing. In which case, if you're under 20 years old, you don't need to be here with us. Okay. Oops, that's general chat. So the next one we have, by the way, any ones you see underneath, that is just people responding to them. So you guys can always respond in the chat. Sorry, this was from yesterday. So this was Maria's story from yesterday, and Maria had some awesome responses in the chat. I told you guys you can respond to people in the Discord. That's why the Discord is so amazing, and that's why you should be in the Discord. Okay. The last one here we have Apples. Apple says, "Hey Tommy, I am of age, lol." I'm glad that you specified that. I met this guy literally just 3 days ago. The first time I was at his place, I found makeup. Okay, interesting. He told me that was for a situationship. Since I met him, he has been wanting to spend every day with me, and I said no because I have a lot of projects going on. Good. He invited me over a second time. Makeup I found disappeared and the chemistry was there, but I didn't give him the cookie. Good. Everything sounds good so far. I don't want to hang out with him every day, but I feel so pressured. He has made plans for this weekend and I don't want to give the cookie. Don't. I told him I wasn't ready, but he keeps saying he doesn't care, although I know he will keep trying. Like he doesn't care that you're, not ready to, he's okay with it is what you mean. He also said he wants us to travel. And honestly, I've been celibate for too long. The offer is looking good. He gives me anything I want, but I don't want to use him or feel pressure of having to give him the cookie. How do I tell him politely that I don't want him because of his situationship? Oh, wait, I'm confused. It seems like you said that you are liking this guy. Okay. I'm assuming you wouldn't be sending this message if you didn't like this guy. I want you to understand, sometimes I feel like you guys get so anxious that you feel like men are going to run away from you. And the craziest part is you're basically telling me how this man can't get enough of you and he's making plans with you and basically trying to do everything that you want him to do. And he's telling you how he'll literally sit down and wait for you. He doesn't care that you don't want to give away your Squirtle and he'll just sit around and wait. And you're basically telling me how this man is willing to give you anything you want, be patient, want to spend every waking moment with you, and have all his attention focused on you. And you're worried, like, what should I do? Do nothing. You literally have to do nothing. He will continue pursuing you as he's been pursuing you. You don't have to give him anything. And think of it like this. It's a win-win for you because even if you don't give him anything, and let's say eventually he becomes so bored of you that he decides he doesn't want to be with you or talk to you anymore, you've given him nothing. So you don't lose. You see how that works? This is why I'd be like, guys, sometimes you guys have so much subconscious pressure that you put on yourself that is not really existing. The only person actually putting pressure on you in this situation is really and truly you. He's obviously saying he wants to spend time with you. Obviously, yeah, he wants to sleep with you. He's attracted to you. There's nothing new there. But in terms of you don't have to give him or do anything for him. Okay? You truly don't. And this is a great process. Sharice just brought up, yeah, he's sleeping with someone else. And I know that you're curious about this makeup situation. But this is a great time that now that you're not giving him anything, you can just continue figuring out what's going on with the situationship. Remember, I always taught you guys, information is the key to this dating life. Gathering more and more information before you make a decision to give yourself to that man, that is what you need to be doing the most. And so I say that to say, that's what you should be focused on. Don't be worried about giving yourself to him, giving him Squirtle, none of that. Figure out what's going on with this situationship. Get clear answers on that so you have this understanding. Because he said it was a past situationship, but maybe, things might pop up that you never realized before. Get a clear understanding of what went on, and so that you know for sure, that because you said you don't like it. So get a clear understanding of it so you can know actually what went on, right? But you don't need to do anything for him. You don't need to sleep with him. You can continue holding out. And even if he gets to the point where he's like, well, you weren't willing to sleep with me, so I eventually got bored and uninterested and I just went somewhere else. Good. That's great for you, because now you gave him nothing. And he's shown you that he was only invested in sleeping with you. So you still win because you get to walk away scot-free without giving him anything. Here's the problem, and this is what most of you guys do. As soon as you start feeling that pressure because he's like, oh my God, I want to be with you. I want to spend time with you. I like you so much. I love you so much. And all this good stuff, I just want to spend all my life with you. You start putting that pressure on yourself that, oh my God, he's not going to like me anymore unless I sleep with him. I got to sleep with him ASAP so he can continue liking me. And then, and then you sleep with him. And then as soon as you sleep with him, the script gets flipped on you where now you're nervous, being like, oh my God, I want you to like me. Oh my God, what can I do for you? What can I say to you? How can I treat you? What do you need from me? Right? And then he's sitting back like, I used to like you, but now I'm kind of bored. I used to be my vibe, but no, I'm not really feeling it anymore. And now you're nervous because you're thinking to yourself, oh my God, if you leave now, if you walk away now, I'm done for. Right? If you walk away from this relationship, I just gave you my Squirtle. I just gave my mind, body, and soul and spirit to you. So now if you walk away, it's going to be horrible for me. And so what happens after that? You begin pushing and pushing and pushing more because now you're desperate to keep that man in your life because you don't want to lose him after you gave yourself to him. That's how you guys end up messing yourself up. Right now, you're in a situation where you can get anything that you want from the situation. Okay? Anything that you want from the situation. Okay. So that's the show for today. I hope you guys enjoyed that. I hope you guys learned some things and got some things from the show. I will be back. Above my head is my Instagram. You guys can find me on Instagram and follow me there and see everything that I'm doing. If you guys want to rewatch this show or any other live shows that we've talked about in the past, you can go on my YouTube page and go in the live section and find the full entire live show there, okay? If you're new here, I'll be back again tomorrow as I am every weekday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern time, okay? Every weekday, you can find me at the same time, 4 p.m. Eastern time, whatever time that is in your time zone, you got to figure that out, okay? That is the show for today. I will see you guys tomorrow, 4 p.m. Eastern time sharp. I love you so much. Care about you so much. Just so awesome. I love you so much. I'm going to see you later. 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 Love you. Bye. Bye. Bye.